I didn't post last week's yet. Still undecided as to whether I will or not. The technical difficulties and the shortened video and all that kind of stuff, and it's not like anybody actually noticed.
Well, I did, but, you know, I didn't want to complain about it.
Feel free. These modern slot cards, because I got the digital set. There's a number of different things that you can do with it. The first of which is that you assign a car to a controller. I actually think you're assigning the car to the controller port, and that's neither here nor there. Happily, I got a pink, a blue, and a yellow car in the set, and the controller plunger tops are red, blue, and yellow. So that's kind of nice, because if you set it up properly, then you know which car's going to go when you push the plunger.
Right.
Then the next thing that you can do is you can program how fast the car is in, I think it's 10 speed steps. So if you've got a more junior driver, you can throttle the maximum speed of the car back. But you can also tune its acceleration and braking, which means that you can get it to accelerate more gradually, and you can get it to slow down more gradually, so you don't have those sharp, really hard acceleration moments and those. Which means you can start getting it to behave a little bit more like it's something that's got mass with momentum, that's pretty good. The next thing that you can do is you can set up a car to run as a ghost car. In fact, I think you can do more than one car as a ghost car. But anyhow, so you run it up to speed and you set it running as the ghost car, and it'll just run as a ghost car forever. And there's a lane changing unit on it, because these are digital cars. They're not electrically isolated on each track anymore. Like the whole thing runs as a single electrical unit, and they're just, the decoder is picking up power out of the track based on the signals that are being sent. It's very, very much like a digital train sets. Anyhow, so there's this lane changing unit, and provided you pushing the button on the plunger at the time you go over the sensor at the start of the lane changing unit, you can change lanes. Well, a ghost car changes lanes randomly, so when it gets to that particular piece of track, it decides at that point in time whether it's going to continue or whether it's going to change lanes. And that makes it extremely entertaining, because you can't just come up alongside it and expect to go whizzing past, because there's a certain point in time, if you're next to it and it decides to change lanes, you both end up into the barriers. So I sat there probably only for about 15 or 20 minutes, to be honest, but I sat there the other night with it set up in a very simple oval with a lane change, and chased this ghost car around and round and round and round and round, and it was really, really good fun. So I'm looking forward to setting up the full track, because I got a track expansion set with it.
Of course.
Well, you know,
These things you got to do.
This is me you're talking about. And setting it all up and setting the ghost car up and sitting there for a couple of hours just driving slot cars around. We've got friends coming over tonight. I was kind of tempted to set it up, but Joe made an even better suggestion last night, which was to get the Scrabble board out. So probably play Scrabble with them instead.
Scrabble's alright.
Yeah. Yeah, we played a game of Scrabble the other week and she kicked my ass.
Yeah, I know how
80 or
that
85 points or something at the end of it. It's like ridiculous.
Yeah, Andrea kicks my ass at Scrabble too. I always manage to get a decent score on a phone app version of Scrabble, but I can't really crack 200 on a board.
Yeah. So anyhow, I can see Scrabble being the next canasta. I refuse to play her at canasta now. Because like, if I'm going to play a game, there needs to be an element of competition. I'm so bad at canasta, there's no element of competition in it. She's figured out my game playing style in that, and yeah. So anyhow,
definitely set up the slot cards then.
Yeah. That's the one downside to it. It's huge. The track sections are massive. So, set up full size, it'll occupy all of the floor space in here easily.
Well, I mean, that's what you want, isn't it? You want a big slot car set.
Yeah. And having said that, I'd like more track because I'd like to be able to go around the perimeter of the room. Which is entertaining because then the car goes out of sight for, brief periods of time. So, provided those sections of track where they're out of sight are straight, I don't see that being a particular problem. But, it's just something I think that I'll collect slowly in the next few years and just build it up. It's not something I'm going to be doing every weekend, that's for sure. I've got 5,000 Napoleonics to paint.
And everything else.
and now we're into the hundreds of Infinity. I shudder to think. What did I work out? That's probably in the order of 50 figures plus that. Yeah. 150 figures probably of Infinity to paint. Something.
Here I am just shaking my head.
Yeah.
Knowing that there for the grace of God, go higher.
Oh, yeah. What was your big spend?
A couple of nights on the tops.
Oh, righto. Yeah. That stuff's not cheap.
No, not when you're buying rounds for the boys.
No.
3 pints, $40. Far out.
Yeah. But then, see, for me, that 1 pint would do me all night.
Well,
so
I
I'm a
had...
cheap date.
Yeah, lucky for you.
Lucky for whoever's buying.
Well, let's see, I had 6-7 pints on Thursday night, and I wasn't feeling any effects at all. So, yeah.
So there's $100 of alcohol for no benefit.
Basically. Plus a movie.
Oh, so did you buy junk for the movie, like food and shit? It was just the movie.
Just the movie.
Just the movie. What are movie tickets now? 25.
I think this was 25.
Yeah.
At least. What's 70 divided by 3?
Yeah, ish.
Yeah.
What did you see?
The Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah, right. And was it strange?
It was shit, to be honest.
Right.
Like, I don't like the Doctor Strange character anyway.
No,
But
this
the
is
guys I saw it with do like him, and they agreed that it was a crap movie.
right. Was it the story was bad, the acting was bad, the writing was bad, the effects
Story
were
was
bad?
bad, writing was bad, effects were good, but yeah, it's just, who cares?
I felt that about the first one.
Yeah, well, so did I.
So,
But I had to see it.
right.
This is the first of the Marvel Phase 4 stuff that I've watched at all, TV shows, movies, anything. And
Yeah.
I regret, you know, I was happy with my decision to end it with Endgame.
Right.
But I got roped into seeing this movie, and I'm like, okay, what's it gonna hurt? Yeah.
Lots by the sound of it.
It's just not a good movie.
Hmm.
But it'll do well because, people are suckers for
Marvel.
Marvel movies.
Yeah. And they'll explain it away and they'll justify and whatever.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't think we'll see it. Not at the cinema anyway. Knowing Joe, she'll buy it on 4K and we'll watch it one day. Actually, she stopped. We've got a problem with our Blu-ray player at the moment, so I need to try and sort that out. I think because it's going through a HDMI switch, there's a performance problem there somewhere. It's lagging.
Yeah, I honestly don't know if my Blu-ray player still works. I bought it in 2014, and I've used it maybe 3 times.
Yeah, right.
Most of those times were because of, not to play Blu-rays, but to play things off a USB stick.
Oh, yeah, right.
Because I couldn't be bothered unplugging the USB sticks from the back of the TV.
Yeah. It's not what you would call value for money, is it?
Well, no, not really. But hey, this is at a time where I was living, I didn't have ready access to cheap, free, unlimited internet.
No.
I was a slave to Telstra for
Hmm.
Telstra mobile data. So running everything off a phone connection limited to 12 gigabytes a month. So,
Ouch.
yeah. For $140.
Yeah, I know. That's the part that really hurts.
Yeah. I don't think they do that anymore.
No, we've always had Telstra for coverage because, as motorcyclists going out into the countryside,
If you stack it,
something goes south, you
yeah.
want coverage.
Yeah, well, that's why I've always been with Telstra too, not for those exact reasons, but for coverage.
Yeah.
Because there ain't no Optus or Vodafone in the middle of the desert.
No.
Hell, there's parts of Brisbane there's no Optus or Vodafone.
Yeah. Used to call Optus Floptus or Droptus.
Yeah.
Because it seemed to happen a great deal. And those Vodafone performance issues, which is a significant while ago now, and I'm sure they've sorted all of that out technically.
Not in Brisbane.
No, really?
Really. And so you're paying premium for your phone service, but at
Yeah.
least it's there when you need it.
Yep.
I've had a Telstra dropout on my phone service, I think, once in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And that was not a network-wide error. It was a Telstra screw-up.
Yeah.
He disabled SMS messaging on my service for some reason.
Yeah. So it's a big, expensive behemoth, but generally it works.
So what's being painted today? It doesn't look like the standard Demonworld fair.
It's a Pixie.
Hmm.
So I'm using these as the scouts for the High Elves.
I thought you were going to say you were going to use it as a companion for those things that have finally been teased officially in the forthcoming Earthdawn Kickstarter.
No, we've moved on from Earthdawn.
Just in time for the rest of the world to find out about it.
Yes. Yeah, my job is done as far as that Earthdawn Kickstarter is concerned, I believe. The only thing I have to do is figure out how to transport those miniatures to the other side of the world without breaking them.
Yeah, good luck.
Hmm.
I mean, the Vertigorm in particular.
Yes.
Hard-shelled case foam inserts.
Yep.
Lots of them.
Yeah. No, I've got army transportation bags. Trying to figure out whether they must be covered because there's no nipplage, so I'll just assume that she's wearing a bikini top.
Yeah, used to those.
Bikini tops?
Yeah, ice switches and all that.
Hmm.
I tell you what, I'm sick of painting ice switches.
Hmm. It's a
I
sad,
thought
sad day when you get to there.
I thought I would enjoy painting them, but they're bloody hard.
Hmm. Yeah,
So I've got ice switch cavalry on my stands.
I love those gargoyles. I love them.
Yeah, well, I've had a go at those with the speed paints, and they're yellow.
They're yellow.
Yeah.
And show them to Joe then.
I think it's mostly my fault for going at them with the larger brush, like a size 4 or 5
Right.
brush. Just so many tiny little scales on them. I thought, yeah, you know what? We'll do the whole thing in yellow because I wanted them to be yellow, and I paint up the scales brown. Maybe not my greatest idea in the world.
Well, at least you know it'll come off readily.
Well, that's true. But I'm not going to do that.
Maybe now's the time to relate my painting story.
It's the beginning of May and you still don't have your speed paints?
I don't.
Beginning of May and you ended up buying another set from someone who has them in stock?
I didn't. I've been very patient as far as that stuff is concerned. But while I was painting the Vertigorm, folks that eventually see this model will note that it is quite purple. Now that was deliberate. I was told to paint it purple, so I did what I was told. However, the plan was to paint it 3 separate shades of purple.
Yeah.
And because of the size of the model and the blending that I wanted and all that kind of stuff, I used the airbrush a lot.
You might have.
So the very pale purples on the belly and underside of the limbs and all that kind of stuff worked beautifully, flawlessly, came out of the brush like a dream. Middle one, nothing. Blocked the brush in probably the first trigger squeeze. Took 10 minutes to unblock the brush because I had to disassemble it completely, clean it out. Admittedly, some of the paint pathway chambers were dirtier than they should have been. That's okay. Reassembled the brush, blocked instantly. Colourful language at this point. Stripped it back down again, cleaned it all out again. Tried thinning the paint, blocked the brush instantly. Stripped down, clean it again. Pushed some of the paint out onto my ceramic palette and dropped a little bit of thinner in it and noticed that the paint is a whole bunch of chunks.
Ouch.
So I'm like, well, that's not good. It's obviously not mixing with the thinner. So I take a photo of it and I send an email to Army Painter going, what am I doing wrong? And they came back a couple of days later, admittedly. I mean, their support does say, look, we're super busy at the moment, so expect a few days. And that's okay. I understand that there's a whole bunch of people that are, confused, concerned, struggling with the speed paint stuff, so I get it. And there's a whole bunch of people like me that just simply haven't got it yet due to transportation problems. But he came back in a couple of days and he said, that paint looks like it's temperature damaged.
Holy cow.
So he said, do you know if it's been frozen at all? Because if it's been frozen, it'll tend to do that, and there's nothing you can do about it. You have to throw it away.
Yeah.
And I went, well, since I've had it, it's been in a domestic house that is heated and cooled and whatever, and the temperature range never sort of gets out of the 14 to 25 sort of range. However, I purchased that set off Amazon at the start of February, and it was shipped from the US. So depending on where from the US it was shipped, it may well have passed through a region that was experiencing, shall we say, cooler weather. Now my fear is that I've now got a paint set of 126 paints.
Oh God.
Where a significant number of them may actually indeed be temperature damaged. Now it's not all of them, because I've used some of the silvers, they're okay. The darker purple was okay. It wasn't as good as the lighter purple. So, there's at least 3, possibly 4 that are okay but then they've offered to reimburse me for the middle purple, a PayPal reimbursement and all that kind of stuff, and that's very generous of them. I wouldn't necessarily have expected that, because not really their issue. I mean, they're obviously looking to protect their reputation as a company and all that kind of stuff, and that's possibly the cost of doing business, whatever. But what do I do next week when I pick a different colour and it does exactly the same? Do I write them another email going, hey, this one's exactly the same, and we go through this chain of 12 months of them slowly replacing their set paint by paint, as it turns out that these are all temperature damaged. So I said this in my follow-up. I said, there is this possibility that, we might be looking at a significant number of paints here that are damaged. What do I do? And they haven't replied yet, but it'll be interesting to see what they come up with.
That would be extremely disappointing. Extremely disappointing.
Well, it's $600 worth of paint, so
Exactly.
and it's not their fault. Somewhere along the line, something in the transport chain. Oh, that was the other thing. It's just like when it arrived, I took a photo of it when I took the lid off it because the inside was just carnage. There wasn't a single paint pot left in the tray that was put in when it was in the factory. It literally looked like the thing had been through a washing machine.
Well, that's Amazon.
Yeah, the out delivered by tumble dryer.
And to think they want to put these things on little helicopter drones.
Yes.
Delivered from that way.
And delivered from height. So that's the paint saga at the moment. It's not even as if I don't have the speed paints. I mean, that's irritating, but the combat company set the expectation. They said, look, this has gone wrong, and you probably won't get it till late May. If I look at my watch, it isn't late May yet, so there's no surprise. There's only one level of disappointment, which is, heck, it's stuck and I won't get it for a little while. It isn't as if they promised it by the end of April and it isn't here, and then they've promised it by the first week of May and it isn't here, because that kind of stuff really annoys me.
Well, I admit I'm feeling a little bit of that at the moment myself in a different way.
Yeah, what's going on?
Our good mates at Ralpatha and their
the
dwarf Kickstarter.
dwarves. Yes.
Look, okay, it's fine. You guys were out for 2 weeks because you had COVID, but that was the last 2 weeks of April, and we were supposed to have at least had them sent out by then.
Yes.
And I was looking at the Kickstarter page last night, and the blokes commented in the last 2 or 3 days saying, "Oh, I'm from the Antipodes, us,
Yeah.
and I still haven't got them yet." And the reply was, "Oh, I haven't finished sending them out yet."
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yes.
You told us these were being sent out in February.
Yes.
That they all were cast in February. Why has it taken so long to ship?
Mm-hmm. I'm biting my tongue.
Yeah.
It just to say quietly that I placed an order on the 15th of July 2021, and there is an item from that order that still has not been sent. Now, I understand that there are things that are going on over there, and that they've had a couple of doses of COVID, and there have been other issues with family members and all that kind of stuff. But if you're going to run a business and you're going to take people's money, you pretty much want to follow through on what you've taken their money for, or you'll find out that they're probably not going to give you any more of it.
Well, that's kind of how I'm feeling right now.
Yeah.
He says with a £150 outstanding order himself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I hear you. I they were, pretty good. For 6 months I was ordering stuff off them, and then it just went off a cliff, and basically having to harangue and harass them to get stuff sent, and I don't have the energy for that, frankly. If they can't do what they're telling me that they're gonna do.
Which is a shame.
It sure is, because there's a bunch of stuff from there that I'd like to have, but at the end of the day, this is only a certain amount of energy that I can be bothered spending on chasing people for stuff. So I've let Ross know exactly how I feel about it. He's under no illusions, so we'll see. Something may happen, something may not happen.
Very little that can be done without, physically kicking in teeth, I suppose.
Yeah, and being that they're in England and we're not, that's a heck of a kick.
Anyway.
So in the meantime, I just buy stupid amounts of Infinity.
Well, at least you can get it on the shelf here.
Yep. Not that I do. Everything's coming from New South Wales. Their latest set of pre-orders, they've put up the I think it's the Nomad collection and the Shazvasti collection.
Things that you like, I know.
Well, I'm not buying those collection boxes because I've got the vast majority of everything that's in them. So there's absolutely no point in paying $400 for a box that I've already got the majority of the contents of. So it's a matter of finding those miniatures that I don't have and adding those. Which is what I've been doing. I actually went through the soon to be deleted list and just basically picked up everything that was on that list. All the stuff that's marked as out of print out of print in June, which means they're replacing them with newer sculpts or retiring the characters. So did I show you the bikes?
No.
Oh, man. I've been absolutely remiss.
Well, so have I this week, but
Yeah.
Just thinking back to your frost damage paint problem. It's very likely that Army Painter will know exactly which ones are going to be frost damage because some mixes are more susceptible to frost damage than others.
Yeah, if they've done that testing, yeah, sure.
Well, they will have, seeing as how it's a Danish company. It gets cold over there.
Oh, that's a very good point. I hadn't considered that.
I remember reading up Turbodog, an American paint company.
Yeah.
They had a problem with a whole bunch of specific shades.
Yep.
Of theirs being super susceptible to frost damage.
Right.
I'm thinking, small company like them can figure it out. Big company like Army Painter can.
No, Army Paint is not a big company.
Well, they got a lot of product.
They've got a lot of product, but they're not a big company. I think they're 20 or 30 total employees, plus managers, whatever. I don't think it's a big company at all.
It doesn't sound like a lot for the amount of product that's out there in the world.
No, it's not. Not like the company that I work for, which is part of an American corporation, which I think has something like 10 or 15,000 employees worldwide. Just a different scale. Might even be more than that when I think about it. So anyhow, they haven't replied. If they haven't replied by Tuesday next week, I'll follow up again. But I'll be gutted if I have to replace 3/4 of it pot by pot, because you make a significant saving buying the whole lot in one go.
Yeah, well, you'd be just about better off buying a whole new set, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And hoping it's not frost damaged.
Yeah, well, in which case I'd actually pay more money and get it locally.
Yeah.
Because then you've got two forms of recourse at that point. You can go back to them, and then you can go back to Army Painter if you have to.
Good old Australian consumer law.
Yeah, exactly right. Whereas when you've picked something up off Amazon and it's been shipped in from the US, you two chances. The other thing is, I noticed when I checked that Amazon order, it said the window for returns had closed on the 2nd. So literally a week ago. Oh, hang on. No, it was the 2nd of April, so a month and a week ago.
That was probably before you got
it. Yeah, not quite. But yes. There's a lot of different areas of flesh on them. So
well, if you're going to have diaphanous wings to flitter about with, you can't wear that heavy stuff.
No, they do have a little bit of armour on. I wonder what it's made out of.
I guess we'll find out when you paint
it. Large beetle carapace, maybe. I didn't have breakfast before I started this too, and that was a mistake. Probably hear my stomach over the microphone.
Well, I've sunk a 12-cup mocha pot already.
Oh, wow. This is what Clee's been doing last week or so. He's been measuring his coffee intake in jugs rather than in cups.
Well, you can't really make a half measure with this thing.
No.
So with a 12-cup brewer, you make 12 cups.
Mm-hmm.
And then you pour them all into 2 mugs, and then you drink those.
Yeah. I was telling the guys at work a story the other day. We're talking about coffee, and I did some work in the US back in '99, I think. It's a bit hazy. 98 or 99, I can't remember. And we were in the deep south, so we're in South Carolina at a newspaper, and the IT guys had a coffee station in their office, and it was one of these ones where it would brew the coffee into a large glass bowl. It's probably 4 litres or a gallon or something like that.
A dripper, yeah.
It was and the first person in the door would put it on. Now that was 6:30 a.m. and they wouldn't start drinking it until 10, when a third of the liquid had been evaporated out of it.
Makes sense. I mean, it's a great way to get high acidity in your coffee and also scorch out any taste. But,
Uh-huh.
Americans and coffee. They just know what they're doing.
Yes. But boy, oh boy, did that stuff have some kick. It's like a dark brown no-dose.
I, for one, am very glad to live in a country whose coffee culture is based on Italian traditions.
Right.
And not American.
American traditions. I don't know. I know nothing about coffee. I grew up in a household where my parents drank International Roast, so...
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, I drank International Roast too when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm. It's because you don't know better.
Well, it's because it was what was available, and it made great iced coffee.
Yeah, right.
Still does, for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
Better than Nescafe or Moccona or anything else.
Yeah. Horses for courses.
Well, I'm pretty sure that Farmers Union and Breaker iced coffees still use International Roast in their commercially available products. The old Breaker iced coffee recipe used to be, before they changed it to be low fat and low sugar and garbage.
Low taste.
Low taste.
Low value.
Low effort.
Just slow.
Well, it used to be 2 teaspoons of like the proportions to the Tetra Pak carton were 2 teaspoons of International Roast and 2 teaspoons of brown sugar.
Yeah, right.
Oh, Twitch has just informed me that Friends are going away on May 25th. Nobody cares whose friends are online. They've taken away the browser, the desktop app.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it worked for last stream, which was in May, and I'm like, oh, good. They said it was going away on the 30th of April. That's good. Maybe it'll still run. No, they've disabled it.
Right.
Bastards. Now they're taking away people's friends on Twitch. I'm like,
Not sure that's going to have any effect on me at all.
No, me either. We launched Friends to help viewers connect with one another, similar to connections between creators and viewers. Today, we see the best viewer-to-viewer connections on Twitch happen when we experience live moments together on a creator's channel, with very few viewers regularly using Friends to connect with each other. By depreciating this feature, we'll further focus on building connections amongst communities while streamers are live.
Right.
Feature will be removed from the mobile app on May 16th and from the website on May 25th. After that date, your friends list and the ability to see which of your friends are online will no longer be available. If you block whispers from strangers in privacy settings, anyone who currently on your friends list will lose the ability to send you messages.
Never had anybody send me a message.
I have had a couple, and I do have a couple of Twitch friends, but yeah, we don't communicate on the platform. Who cares?
Yeah. Go to Discord.
Yeah. Who cares? I just think it's great that Twitch is removing all these features to concentrate on doing less.
Doing less for more.
Well, exactly. Oh, well, Twitch is owned by Amazon, so What do you expect? Bargain basement service.
That's it.
The only thing that sucks about losing the desktop app is now I not have.
Speaking becomes difficult.
Yeah, navigating away from the stream that I'm watching.
Yeah.
Which is, extremely annoying.
First colour isn't normally this epic.
Paint more eye switches.
Yeah. Do want some of those gargoyles. However, refer to earlier conversation about still waiting for stuff from July last year. All right.
Yeah, well, just on those gargoyles, they could have been molded a little bit better, but...
Is it the sculpt or the mold?
It was the mold.
Might be worn out.
I can't imagine it's honestly being used that often.
Yeah. Depends if it's the original Hobby Products mold or whether Alpatha have cut a new one. Might be the original Hobby Products one, in which case it's 25 years old. Or more. Right. Military green. Because I consulted my colour expert last night and she said, do this.
Don't use yellow.
Hey?
She said, don't use yellow.
Don't use yellow, yeah. Not in so many words, but the gist. So what's on for your weekend? Staying off the terps today?
I am, actually. I hope. I think I'll just not answer the phone anymore. Can't afford going out.
Gets bloody expensive when you back up that a few days in a row.
It does. And it's not like I'm made of money in the first place.
Nope.
Today I will probably end up being fairly depressed.
Oh. I don't recommend that as a goal.
Not as a goal, but that's probably how it's going to go. This week I've just been... See, around in Brisbane, around this time of year, the weather starts to change into pre-winter, and it's been overcast since I guess Friday midnight.
Right. So a whole week of nothing but grey sky.
Yeah, that's what it felt like, and it's been raining, and The weather is cool. My sinuses are all stuffed up because they always get stuffed up whenever the weather changes at all.
Mm-hmm. I'm relating quite strongly to this.
Yeah. Well, I'm a little bit sick of the video games that I've been playing to take my mind off it.
Right.
So I've been...
Which are?
Well, I'm a big fan of the Borderlands series, and
Right.
I've thrown myself back into Borderlands 3 for about 3 hours before I got utterly sick of it.
Right.
Because honestly, it's a bad game.
Right.
And I wish that the new game was out on Steam already, but evil company signs evil deals with the Chinese Communist government to only release on Chinese Communist government platform
Right.
for 6 months.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm not going to. Yeah. Anyway, so I've thrown myself into just about all of the Borderlands games recently.
Right.
Now, these are games that I've got minimum 500 hours each in.
Yep.
So I know I'm like the back of my hand.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just, this again. I got to do something, otherwise I'm going to sit here and do nothing. I may as well do nothing productively than, or unproductively than do nothingly.
Well, the key is to be able to do to be able to do nothing productively.
Yeah. I finished a TV show that I was watching, as far as I care to watch that particular show.
Yep.
The first 3 seasons of All Creatures Great and Small, the
Mm-hmm.
original TV series, not the currently airing one, which was garbage.
Right. I didn't realise they'd done a remake.
Yeah, last couple of years. It's garbage. It's a garbage show. It's unfaithful. It's lost all of its charm. Characters have changed for no good reason. It's basically now a drama instead of a family show. It's
Mm-hmm.
just not good. It's crap. It's crap.
Yep.
Which is a shame, because I love the James Herriot books. I've been reading them over and over since I was a kid.
Yeah.
It's why I generally feel well disposed to animals instead of not caring at all.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I watched that show as far as I could watch it and finished that yesterday. I've got an hour and a half to go on the second Abercrombie Age of Madness trilogy book.
You right?
And the last, 2 hours or so of those books, I don't know, was it something that you might have noticed yourself or felt yourself? The last parts of those Joe Abercrombie books, they just drag on. Because that's how I feel about them. They just drag on and on and on.
I don't have any current context to comment because I haven't listened for a very long time. So, yeah, it's not something I've noticed. It's not something that's stuck in my head, but that's not to say it didn't happen. There's a reason why I haven't listened yet to the second part of that trilogy.
Because you were waiting for it to all come out.
It might have been something to do with the characters. It might have been something to do with my state of mind while I was listening to it. It's probably a combination of all of it. But it hasn't grabbed me by the throat and demanded I shift everything else aside and just listen to that. I'm also cognizant of the fact that I listen to audiobooks primarily because I had a 45-minute minimum commute each way to work when we lived up in the hills. And I don't have that commute anymore, which means that hour and a half a day goes into other things. So, my book listening / reading has tailed off dramatically. So much so that I get angry communication from Audible going, we're going to take some of these credits off you if you don't spend them. And like, because we've swapped, because we've come out of the hills and Joe's still working in the hills, she's now got a 40-minute commute each way every day. And so she's picked up listening to audiobooks. And she was lamenting the other morning that she didn't have a credit available to buy the last of the Harry Potters because she's been working through the Harry Potters. And I just flipped into Audible and bought it for her with a credit that I've got sitting around that I haven't used. And she went merrily on her way listening to Stephen Fry, which is, that's an awesome thing. But when I look at it, I think I've got 4 or maybe 5 credits sitting there at the moment on top of about 9 books I haven't listened to. So that gives you an idea of where I am with Audible at the moment. But see, I don't know whether it's that series of books or whether it's me or a combination of both. But, by the time I'd finished the first one, it was like, I was kind of happy that certain characters had moved on, but it was like taking a break. But then I picked up a couple of historical books. Second World War. I'm trying to think of the name of the author. I think it's James. I can't remember anyhow. He's a fairly well-respected author, and he's done a lot of research into Second World War bits and pieces. It's not Anthony Beevor, although I've listened to a couple of Anthony Beevors as well. But, I've started 3 or 4 of his books, and they're all really good and really enjoying them, but I haven't finished them, and there has to be a reason for that. I started the Heinlein. I went back to read some of Heinlein's stuff, or listen to Heinlein's stuff,
Always good value.
Yeah, and I picked up Number of the Beast, which I remember as being a really rollicking good read. It was good fun. It invited you in and then, threw a party in your honor and kept you interested. And it hasn't aged well. The difference reading it now between reading it as a young adult and reading it now, it's like, oh boy, there's some stuff in here that I'm not comfortable with. It's not that I'm not comfortable with, it's I'm not enjoying. There's some little back of the hand jokes that just don't translate into the modern world. So, I put that down. I was listening to Brandon Sanderson's writing an epic. And this is an epic. This is going to be a 12 or 15 volume monster. Like, he's going to make Wheel of Time look like a short story. And I got half or 2/3 the way through the 3rd book and got lost. And that one, partially because that was at the point I stopped driving. That was the one I was listening to while I was driving. And so when I picked it up 6 months later, I'm like, oh, geez, I really didn't know what I was up to. And then I would find it, you get 3/4 of the way through a chapter and go, oh, yeah, I remember what happened. And then you skip forward, and then it's like, no, what's going on? And then you have to go back again, and it was all just a bit messed up. But I kind of got lost, and now I don't know where I am with that series, and I'm probably going to have to go back and listen to that book in its entirety all over again, and that wouldn't be bad, except it's a 48-hour book, and I'm probably 32 hours into it, and it's like, now I've got to spend another 32 hours to try and catch up. And the fourth one of those is released, and I've bought it. It's a 40+ hour book, but I haven't gone anywhere near it. So yeah, I hear you, but I'm not sure whether it's Abercrombie in my case. It might just be me.
Well, they do. Yeah. There is a lot of shifting viewpoints in those, but it's something that Abercrombie fell in love with more and more and more as he kept writing that particular series.
Yeah, there wasn't so much of it in the First Law.
Yeah, the original trilogy added new characters fairly quickly, but the last chapter I listened to shifted viewpoints 20 times in that chapter.
Yeah.
And half of those were between characters that only appear in that chapter just to die.
Right.
And it happened a bit in the heroes as well. And
yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, I'm mostly just listening to finish the trilogy at the moment. And
and that's not a good state of affairs.
Means I'll have finished the series.
Yeah. Well, it's not a good state of affairs, right? You want to be listening to it because it's compelling and it's dragging you towards the end, and you're fascinated by the ending, and you want to know what happens, and you're afraid for some of your favorite characters and everything like that. And if you just I need to finish it off because I paid the money for it, it's lost you.
Yeah, well, as I mentioned a little while ago, I had a little bit of it spoiled for me.
Oh, whoops.
Not by you,
but
just in general, back of the covers sorts of spoilers, and I'm like, well, knowing that that's going to happen, does take a little bit of tension out of it.
Yeah. So, speaking of video games, Joe's babysitting skills were required this week, and she was out Wednesday night, so I sat down with XCOM again, because I can't be out here painting while she's out, because dog destroys house.
Yeah.
But if I'm out there with her, and then I can keep an eye on what's going on, and I can make sure she goes out to the toilet at regular intervals and all that kind of stuff. So, sitting there in front of the PlayStation, it's just like sitting in front of the TV, really. Took me 4 goes to complete one battle without getting everybody killed. It's good fun.
Isn't that kind of defeating the purpose of the XCOM games, where your soldiers are, disposable?
Yeah, but they're not in this one. They're not. You spend so much money and resources on getting them to be effective, you can't afford to throw them away.
Yeah, well, I spent in the vein of XCOM, I also spent a bit of time on the Harebrained Schemes BattleTech game.
Yeah.
This last week. which is a game that I love and I've sunk many hundreds of hours into as well, but its crippling performance issues are also crippling, and I just can't be bothered wading through that at the moment, and I just...
Yeah.
And the early game of a new game is all light mechs and pop guns and not doing too much damage to each other. It takes a little while.
Yeah, and running around, exercising patience rather than anything else.
Yeah.
I'm actually sensing a theme here, and I'm not going to go into psychoanalysis, having my
What's
own
that? I need
issues.
to go and get back to work.
No, and that would never have been anything I would have uttered ever, but it's I think perhaps you don't think too much of yourself at the moment.
Well, I don't, but I never do.
No, but it sounds to me like at the moment it's a particular thing you might be processing the end game of salvos, I think.
Yeah, well, would you like to hear a little bit of a story about that?
Yeah, go on.
Every single male that they had working in that place has now quit on them.
Wow.
The sisterhood culture of the management is now doing it for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Entirely for themselves. And the place is a shithole.
Good luck with those couches, dears.
Exactly. Yeah, they're going to be in trouble. And I, for one, don't care.
Yeah, it's a terrible state of affairs. In fact, I actually think you do care, but
Well, I'm not going back.
No, I understand that you're not going back. You're certainly not going to go and rescue them, given the treatment that you were given. But I think there was a period of time there where you really did care and you really did put some effort in, and you're thoroughly fucking disappointed that it has worked out the way that it's worked out through myopic behaviour.
Well, yeah, that's true. But I no longer care.
Yeah.
Aside from a healthy dose of epicaricacy.
You're going to have to explain that one to me. I've never heard that word before.
No, it's one of those wonderful English words that means schadenfreude.
Which means...
You know, schadenfreude, the German term shameful joy, where you take pleasure in someone else's suffering. Epicaricacy is the English version of that.
Right.
And it's a not very well-known word.
No, well, I've never heard it, and I consider I have a reasonable vocabulary.
Well, it's been used in a book like 5 times ever, apparently.
Right.
Because people know the term schadenfreude.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, it's derived from Greek. Joy, sadness, pleasure, something like that.
There's a great deal of the modern world revolves entirely around schadenfreude.
Twitter, for example. Politics. Oh God, politics.
Funniest home videos.
Yeah.
Which is really just the political wrap-up of the day, if you ask me. Oh shit, when is that? Is that next weekend or is it the weekend after?
Weekend after.
Weekend after.
Yeah, weekend after.
I want a bloody refund. I haven't even wasted that Saturday yet, and I want a refund.
Well, that's why I'm going on Monday. That's when the early polling opens.
All right. Yeah, it's a good plan.
Yeah.
That was something I did for myself this week. I finally went to the doctor.
Oh, yeah.
So I finally have medication back under my belt, and I'm back on the medication regime, and I don't feel quite so crap about myself from the perspective of looking after myself, because I haven't been. That self-worthlessness manifests itself in all sorts of different funny ways.
True enough. True enough.
Yeah. I have to get a set of blood tests now.
Well, of course, because that way you have to come back and fork over, I don't know what you pay at your GP.
Well,
85, $90.
That last effort was 35. Because all he did was write me out a script and give me a referral for a set of blood tests. I think I was face to face with him less than 3 minutes. Probably could have done the whole lot over the phone, frankly.
Yeah, well, they do a lot of that nowadays because they get more money out of a telehealth call than they do a person-to-person visit.
Yeah, and they can get through them quicker.
Chip.
Because you don't have to stand at the door of the consultation room tapping your foot waiting for somebody to finish reading their magazine article. Anyhow. The problem with this next blood test is that it's going to be in comparison to the last one. And you go, well, why is that a bad thing? Is because at the end of the last one, I had my cholesterol under 2. And it sure as shit isn't under 2 anymore. I was also a good 10 kilos lighter than I currently am. Little by little, snack by snack. You undo 18 months worth of effort.
Yeah, I know how that goes too.
Yeah, I spent 18 months existing on sub 2200 calories a day. When COVID hits and it's 5 steps from the fridge, and you suddenly go to 3,500 calories a day, it's just like, well, boomp.
Especially when you're not doing anything with those calories.
That's it. So, Joe reckons bronze armor, so we're going for bronze armor.
I like bronze. It's shiny brown.
Shiny brown. Thing about the cholesterol medication is that I had originally understood that when I got my cholesterol under control, that
you'd no longer need it.
I'd no longer need it, and it turns out that I'm stuck on it for the rest of my life because
that's how the drug companies make their money.
Well, it is and it isn't. It's a really interesting thing. When I was in my early 30s, I got a blood test done because I wasn't feeling very well. In fact, that's understating it by quite a degree. I was feeling very, very poorly at the time. And first and only time ever in my life has a doctor rung me and said, we have a problem. You need to come down here and we need to sort it out. So I'm what? I was 31 or 32 years old, walking into a doctor's office to be handed a piece of paper that told me that I had a cholesterol level of 27.7.
Jesus.
Yeah. And so, while the medication allows you to bring, the cholesterol down into what's considered to be the safe zones, because of the hyperlipidemia, I'm still accumulating cholesterol in the walls of my arteries. And so that's where the double heart bypass came in my mid-40s. See, I'd been on proper medication with reasonable cholesterol levels from my early 30s into my mid-40s, and I still ended up in hospital with a double heart bypass. Because this is the other thing, is like you get onto this medication and your cholesterol level plummets down into normal levels, and you go, well, cool, I can eat whatever I like because the medication will take care of it. No, you can't.
Bugger.
So, food is a very sore topic.
Mm.
You see guys like Matt Preston, lives his entire life wrapped around food and the enjoyment of food and everything like that, and he's not a little fellow.
No, it's not.
And I look at it and I go, that's just so unfair.
Yeah, I understand how that goes. My secret is I don't go to the doctor.
Now that's bizarre, because you'll go to a dentist but you won't go to a doctor, and I'm the other way around.
Yeah, well, it takes all kinds to make the world.
It sure does.
See, I went to the doctor in early December of last year because I was in pain. Knees and ankles mostly.
Yeah.
Because of the sort of work I was doing at the time and blah, 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 blah. So he sent me off for some x-rays, which I got that day. And then it was February. I got the results.
Right.
In which time I'm still in pain.
Yeah.
And that cost me $160 for
Right.
nothing useful.
Yeah. Yeah, there certainly is that, isn't there?
And now the AMA is trying to take away bulk billing altogether because doctors don't make enough money on bulk billing. Well, you know what? Australian Medical Association, up yours. Not everyone can afford to be a doctor. Because that's kind of where we're at the moment. You need to have a doctor's wage to afford going to the doctor and take care of your health.
There's a line in a U2 song which sums this up for me, which is something along the lines of the rich stay healthy and the sick stay poor.
Yep.
That was more aimed at the American medical system, though. But
well, here we are with our universal healthcare that we're still paying over the odds for. I mean,
yeah,
you get, what, $600 out of Medicare a year, and that's like a visit to the GP. Like maybe 3 doctors' certificates, because every GP wants you to come back to discuss your results. So they're double dipping. It's crap.
It is.
That's why I don't go to the doctor. At least with the dentist, it's an in and out. Sure, you got to come back, but you're actually getting something when you come back.
Right. Yeah. My problem is my teeth are so bad now that if I go to a dentist, it'll be basically buying them a new house, and I don't feel like buying somebody else a new house.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, implants are a little bit pricey. I'm glad I got mine when I did.
Yeah. I know I've had some miserable experiences with dentists, having my wisdom teeth taken out in my mid-30s and the dentist saying to you, yeah, we really should have done these when we talked about it 10 years ago because your jawbones are hardening and it's going to be more difficult to get them out, and spending 2.5 hours in the chair for her to get one tooth out and busting both of my lips and smashing that gum up beyond belief and ending up with a dry socket. And, it was utterly fucking miserable. It was really, really poor experience.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. That sounds like a really crap dental experience. And yeah, it's wisdom teeth, but a decent dental surgeon wouldn't do that.
No, but then a decent dental surgeon... Yeah. I've got another one that's got to come out. It's broken. There's 3 of the 4 cusps are gone. The fourth one is just only half there, basically. So it forms this basically socket in my mouth, and I've had it x-rayed, and the dentist that x-rayed it looked at it and he went, yeah, you have to go to a dental hospital to get that one out, because they're basically, there's hooks on the bottom of the legs, and it's okay if there's a hook on one of them, but there's a hook on 2 of them, and they go in different directions. So he said, they're going to have to break your jaw to get that one out. And I'm like, well, none of that's covered, all right? Now, I can get private health cover. My accountant's been on at me for years about getting private health cover. I was like, yes, I can, except I'm over 50. I haven't had private health cover for more than 20 years. I have ischemic heart disease. I have a bad back, and I have a chronic pain condition. Would you like to guess at what my premiums will be?
Significantly more than any tax write-off you might get for having it.
Exactly right. Now, he bitches and moans about the fact that I pay the Medicare levy because I earn a decent amount of money. And I'm like, okay, so I give the government, I don't know what it is. It's...
Couple percent, I think. 2%.
Yeah, but it's like, you find me a private health company that is going to give me the level of cover that I get in the public system in Australia for that much money every year. They don't exist. Because of my medical history. So it's like, and he's like, but what happens if you need to go to hospital? And I'm like, I went to hospital in 2015. They pulled me apart. They put me back together. They sent me home after a week with a whole bunch of medication, and the only thing I paid for was the medication. Double heart bypass and 3-week stay in hospital cost me $100. And that was the cost of the medication they sent me home with. Try and do that on private health cover.
You'd be running up $100 a day minimum.
That would have been a $10,000 bill, and that's just the gap.
Yeah.
So, the reason he bitches and moans about it is because he likes to get me a positive return every year, and he's more than $1,000 behind the 8 ball because of the Medicare levy. So he's just whinging because it makes his life harder.
Oh, boo-hoo.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah, it's once I figured that out, it was like, no, I have no sympathy for this conversation anymore. Everybody has an angle. So yeah, Jo was very much in the same situation as me. Her teeth are not good, and she's managed to find herself a decent dentist, and she's happy, and she's going back and getting it fixed up slowly by slowly, month by month. So, I mean, there's a possibility there of sort of figuring that out.
Well, yeah, but you could fly to America and attend conferences and conventions for a couple of weeks for what it would take to fix up 2 of your teeth.
Especially as I found the Povo route. Yeah, okay, I have to make an extra stop, but the actual length of the journey is no different, time-wise. And I don't sleep on planes anyway, so being on a plane 15 hours doesn't do me any good. Plus, I'll get to say I've been in Hawaii, even if it's only the airport.
Hawaii, the southernmost state. Which it is. It is the most southern of the American states.
Is it?
It is,
There
but
you go.
yeah, it's like in line with Mexico.
Right.
But when you say the Deep South, you're not thinking of Hawaii.
Absolutely not.
Weird.
Aye. No, South Carolina.
South Carolina's not so bad. Knew some people from there. They're all good people.
Yeah.
Sort of place I wouldn't mind visiting, to be honest.
Well,
some interesting history
I
around there,
can't.
and I'm not talking about anything like that. I'm talking about pre all of that history.
Yeah. I can't really sit here and recommend Myrtle Beach to you. I really can't.
No, but I don't like tourist traps anyway. That's why when I went to Thailand, I didn't go to the beaches.
Right.
Too tourist trappy. Yeah, anyway.
So, Myrtle Beach has a claim to fame, or at least it did when I was there. And that claim to fame was that it had the most number of golf courses per square mile of anywhere in the world. It's epic, don't you think?
Yeah, I'm just trying to wrap my head around.
The implications.
It's like a golf course.
Yep.
Hmm.
And our flight, because I went into Charlotte, North Carolina, and then caught a connecting flight down to South Carolina. And our flight from Charlotte was delayed because the guys had to play Tetris to get all the golf bags on board.
Well, fair enough, I suppose. You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, that's right. And you got to go to a beach side town to play golf. Then that's what you got to do. And then I'm not the right person to be talking to about golf because I don't understand it.
It's been a while since I've been on the course. In fact, the most fun I ever had with golf was going up and down a beach with a sand wedge.
Right.
Spent many of my childhood holidays that way, actually.
Was the golf ball involved or was that optional?
No, golf balls.
Yeah.
Just, go for a long walk up and down the beach with
Yeah. sand wedge and a golf ball, and just
That's it.
yeah.
Not skills that really translate to the links, though.
Nope.
I mean, you hit relatively straight, otherwise you lose your ball either into the dunes or into the water. But
well, that was my problem, and this is a reason probably why I don't get the game, is because of the 9 holes that I've played in my entire life. I played the last 5 off the wrong fairway.
what? Off the wrong fairway or off the wrong tee?
No, the wrong fairway. I was at the wrong tee. I was at the right tee, but by the time I'd hit that ball, it landed on the wrong fairway.
Oh, I get you now. I'm thinking, hang on, you're teeing off at the wrong.
No. Oh, no. No, I was teeing off from the right place. Believe me.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
And it didn't matter, right? I could turn 90 degrees horizontal to that tee. It still ended up in the wrong place. I don't know where that slice came from, but I couldn't dial it out, and it was like, this is a guaranteed head fuck of a game. I've got things to do that don't hurt me mentally quite so much as this is.
Tell me at least you're borrowing the clubs.
Oh yeah, I didn't buy anything.
Just knowing you might have.
Well, it's like if I'd had a positive experience, I probably would have, but no, that was not a positive experience. That was teeth gnashingly frustrating. And I get it that that's probably where the attraction comes from, is that, it is a mental game, not a physical game, and that people are out there to work on their mental toughness, and I'm like, no, not interested. Archery is actually a fairly similar thing. Once the muscle memory is down and, you've got the right action going on and everything like that, it becomes a purely mental thing.
Yeah, well, I haven't done any archery since I was a kid. I guess 10 years old, so I'll take your word on that.
Yeah, I dragged the bows out a few years ago and went down to an archery centre and shot some arrows, bought a target, set it up in the backyard, shot some arrows, then found out that that's actually not strictly legal and put them away again.
Fair enough.
Well, they are deadly weapons. You can kill people with them, so.
Yeah, I get that. Surprised we're actually allowed to have them in this country.
Yeah, that's an interesting point.
I mean, up here you can't sell a slingshot, for example.
Yeah, you're not allowed to sell them down here either.
You get around that by marketing them as bait casters for fishing.
Mm-hmm.
No, serious.
Yeah, I know. I'm aware of it. I was giggling because we do all sorts of silly things, like, having lift up number plate things so that you can wash, but behind them, controlled from a knob on the dashboard. Yep. Was that controlled by a knob on the dashboard? English is great, isn't it?
Yeah. I guess it's all a matter of attitude at that point.
Yeah. Of course. Doesn't matter. If Mr. Plod takes a dim view, they can make your life pretty bloody miserable. Whether you are following the law or not. Oh, wrong pot. Reckon I'll get another colour in, Matty.
I reckon you got time.
So, where were those colour shift paints? That one's gold yellow to burnt orange. Silver to pink. Pearl to violet. Violet to old copper. Old silver to pale violet. I seemed to buy the set that had a lot of purple in it, didn't I? Gold to pale blue. I reckon I'm going to use those on the wings. What do you reckon?
Yeah, sounds alright to me.
Gold to pale blue.
That is the whole diaphanous sort of thing. So.
Yeah.
It's not like these Pixies have got bat wings.
I bought these on a whim, as I am wont to do.
Those Turbo Dork ones.
These are the Vallejo ones.
Ah, right.
There is a lot of pearl in this. Can you see that?
I can see that it's... Yeah, actually. That is coming through.
There's a lot of pearl in it. This could be great. It could be bloody awful, but it could be great too.
Well, I guess we'll find out.
This particular patch is too thin. There must be some.
Is it one of those ones that goes on best over black?
Maybe. It does say best effects over gloss black base. Right, so we'll do that first.
Yeah, a lot of those color shifty paints only go on over black very well.
So we'll pull the paint off. My goodness me, there is a lot of metal in there. A lot of metal. That is quite specifically matte black. This will be an interesting experiment if nothing else.
Well, yeah. I've only got one color shift paint in my collection. And to be honest, wasn't that happy with it.
Well, I'm prepared for disappointment.
Yeah, this one rather specifically said, goes on over black, and you'll need 5 or 6 coats.
Ooh. There's a lot of effort.
Well, yeah, and seeing as how the shift was from gold to green, didn't really shift all that much.
Right. I apologise if you can hear noises of dog destroying the house in the background.
Just a little bit.
Because that's what she does. I actually need a little bit of water in here. Because this is thick as. Righto. Black wings. What else does it say? Applying thin coats. What did you try and do with yours?
Magical weapons.
Right.
Swords. Yeah, just mostly stayed gold.
Right.
I don't know if that's lighting or the paint or the way I applied it, but yeah. Anyway, lots of coats.
Well, this is the thing. If it's too hard to use, then it's failed.
True enough. I recall you painting dragonflies before and having excellent results from other methods.
Yep.
Also labor intensive, but
Well, they weren't, because that's just this stuff. These metallic war paints, they are fantastic. So I didn't put any more effort into those dragonflies than I have into anything else. And that's the key. The key is finding the tools to allow you to achieve those effects with the minimum amount of effort. I mean, this is actually why the army painter is called the army painter and not Sigil Finger. single figure painter over 12 months.
Yeah, true enough.
And I love those guys that do the Golden Demon stuff. You know, they're pushing the boundaries of what is possible from the perspective of painting a miniature for display. You know, they're really talented. They're extremely artistic, and you know, they're incredibly valuable skills for people to be developing and being able to teach others to be able to do that kind of stuff. It's a really good thing, but it isn't what I'm doing, and it isn't what you're doing either.
Right.
And it's recognizing that, because if you're attempting to paint, for argument's sake, 5,000 Napoleonics to Golden Demon standard, you've got it wrong.
Yeah, well, you're kind of nuts for thinking it in the first place, but attempting it, wow.
But it's actually driven by an insecurity, because it's like, I want to be the best. You want to be the best what? Yeah. You know, you see people selling stuff, you know, huge quantities of stuff on eBay, and you're like, well, what happened? It's like, you know, it was too hard to paint. It's like, it was only too hard to paint because you set yourself up for failure. And there's a number of people that are in the community at the moment that are attempting to address that, and getting people to calm down as far as that sort of stuff is concerned. You know, Tabletop Minions has been putting out videos for a very long time, coaching people about the fact that you need to pick the level at which you want to paint stuff. And the only person that you should be comparing your results to is you. And nobody else. You can gain inspiration from others, but don't compare your results to others. And I have to remind myself of that from time to time, because, you know, I look at that Earthdawn spread, and that Earthdawn spread's actually, it's pretty good. But if I look at those miniatures individually, all I see is the mistakes. And so it's very easy to get overly critical of your own work and lose heart and lose interest and engagement with it. Like, no word of a lie, that Vergigorn was about the hardest thing I've ever had to paint.
I'm not surprised to hear that.
Not because of the shape of the miniature, not because of the composition of the miniature, just because it was intimidating. You know, that took some of the big Tyrannid Griblies and made them just look like child play. So Ross kind of half-asked if I'd paint another one, and I said no. I'll bring the one I've already painted with me. I'm not doing another one. And, you know, maybe that changes in the years to come, and I look at it again and I go, you know what, I'd like to give that another go, but right now, just no way. And having had a very, very neutral or negative reaction to the first set of photos I posted over it, didn't help.
Yeah, fair enough.
Well, you know, I took those all on a white background in the light box with the light turned right up, and it is extremely purple. But, you know, when you photo it on the black background, the tones shift, and it actually looks like what it's supposed to look like. So, yeah, I really struggled with that. That sat on this desk for a month more than a month before I could work up the courage to even start it. Now, if I'd wanted to put a golden demon quality paint job on it, that would have been 12 months work. You know, these guys are building up layers of colour for Mr. Armor. 30 and 40 layers deep. Which is, it's admirable, but was the other thing. I saw a guy posted it was either Pan-Oceania or O12 Army, 300-point Army on Instagram the other day, and the entire thing was painted non-metallic metal. I'm like, why? I mean, you only do that kind of thing to say that you could. Non-metallic's great, but we have extremely good metallics in the marketplace. Why not use them? It's like, I'm going to dig the foundations of a house by hand. Why? Go and rent a digger. Yeah, rant over. Sorry.
No, it's fair. Squeak, squeak.
Oh, you can hear that. Oh, God.
Oh, yeah. Well, at least it's not the sound of crockery clattering to the floor.
Yeah. I love how people just forget what dog toys are. Because that squeaking is meant to represent the anguished cries of a dying animal. It's like, oh, it's so cute.
That was half yawning, agreeing.
She's so cute. She's squeaking her little ball again. No, she's not cute. She's killing a little furry thing, effectively. In her head, that's what she's doing.
Yeah.
I did have a funny moment on our walk a few mornings ago. She hates cyclists. It's not because they're cyclists. It's just because they're moving, and they're moving fairly quickly. And she's a high drive cattle dog, working dog.
Right.
So she just wants to round them up. This thing's not under my control. I need to go and make it under my control. And she behaves exactly the same way about cars and buses and trucks and stuff like that. So it's like, this is a dog that'll never ever be off lead because she's deaf, which means we have no audible control, and she's high drive and triggered by this kind of stuff. So anyhow, we're walking along the footpath, and it's this group of cyclists coming towards me, and it's an older group of gentlemen who I think they ride sort of once a week-ish. They gather at a place, and then they head off up the Dandenong Creek Trail as a group. And there was, I don't know, 20-something of them. And so I'm hanging on to her on the side of the path while they're all sort of going past, and they're all, waving and smiling and all that kind of stuff. And there's one guy said something. I actually can't remember what he said as he was sort of wobbling his way past, and I said to him, "Mate, she just thinks you're all sheep." Which he thought was funny, which was good. But that's the truth of it, is that she just thinks they're all weird coloured, lycra-clad sheep.
Aren't dogs colourblind as well?
It depends on the dog.
So not really colourblind. Not really weird coloured, just it's all shaded.
Sheep,
gray.
yeah. So anyhow, he wobbled off up the path chuckling. So it's a good thing. He wasn't offended by it, but she can be super intimidating to people walking in the other direction, like joggers and stuff like that. She'll just lunge and growl. And if you don't know the dog, it's actually quite intimidating. It's like, oh, am I going to lose an ankle here or something? But if I've got enough warning, I'll get her off the footpath and get her in a collar hold and make sure that she's contained to take away the worst of the opportunity. But get cyclists that sneak up on you from behind, they make no noise, and the next thing they're on top of you and she's lunging and snapping and snarling and stuff like that. And it's just like, man, just give me some warning. You've got a bell, use it. You know.
Yeah, I tend to lunge at cyclists like that.
Snapping and snarling. Imagine if you hipped and shouldered a cyclist as they went past. That would be a mess.
I only had to do it once.
Yeah. I've been tempted a couple of times. There are some guys that ride bicycles up that bike path. They're arseholes. They really are. Charging through at 30, 35 k's an hour, and they don't give a shit. And these are on, electrically boosted bicycles. So they're not pedaling at 35 k's an hour. They're on the electric motor. They don't slow down for shit.
Yeah, I've known some people like that, like Class A wankers. What's that? I've got a $5,000 bike. Now I'm going to stick a $3,000 electric motor on it so I don't have to ride it.
Yeah. What's the point? What's the point?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Well, here's where we are, given that time's up. Ish. We have
Whole pack of fairies.
Well, they're pixies, technically. Being a pack of fairies in Australia, I've missed her breastplates too. So.
Well, maybe she's got something other than bronze.
Bronze breasts. And now she's growling at her brother. I
find myself doing the same.
What's that?
Missing things that should be obvious.
Oh, don't get me started on the Napoleonics. My goodness me.
But they're so tiny.
They're actually not that much smaller. Like, it's not a great deal of difference. They are quite a bit more slender, though.
Yeah.
I missed some arm guards on one of them. Where was that one? And this is the thing, you've missed something on one of them, and you go back and you can't find which one it was. Oh, this is ridiculous. Was it arm guards or was it leg guards?
I seem to recall it being a wrist guard.
That one's done.
You'll have to end up picking up each one of them individually and just looking them over.
That's this one. Here we go. I get to go and take care of a garden bed. The dogs have been digging in it for 2 weeks now, so there's some damn decent depth holes in it.
Oh dear.
Yeah, it's okay. The plants that were supposed to be transferred into it haven't been transferred into it yet, so no damage done other than the shifting of earth, which a metal rake in 10 minutes will take care of.
Or 5 minutes if you want to stick those plants in those holes.
The holes are in the wrong places. So it's fill the holes in, tamp it all down, then dig more holes to put the plants in. Yep, that's how the world works. All right. Have a good weekend, Matty.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks. Same to you.
Be kind to yourself.
If I don't, no one else will.
This is the thing.
Yeah, I know. I thought I was making a joke, but then I realised the truth of it after the words came out.
Yeah. And I'll see you on the flip side.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how this slot comes out.
Yeah, me too.
Check out the Facebook group. Oh, people who are probably not watching at this point.
Yeah. Come along. Join in. It's a more active community now than it has been at times during the year. It's not just me posting miniatures. There are others as well.
Yeah, occasionally.
And people even asking questions. Who'd have thought?
Where are the hex bases?
Yeah, well.
That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, of course. It's like, this isn't the game that I remembered. No, you're right. It isn't. They are the figures, but it's not the game. Yeah, it's all good. All right.
There's room in the world for both.
Exactly.